Um, so here we go. This is, you're going to see a lot of the same types of stuff that we did last week and that we did in our warm-up within these problems, but the key thing that we're doing here today is we're going to solve equations. Before we do this, do you guys have your yellow packets with you? We took some notes on solving equations in our yellow packets. I want to make sure that you guys have those notes down. Do you guys remember we did a problem that looked like this and we annotated? It was on a page that said solving equations in the yellow packet. No, do I have the wrong packet here? We didn't do one like this? Okay, that's interesting. I wonder if I switched packets. Huh. All right, well, don't worry about that because we're going to add some different notes into it anyway. So you can put this right at the top. I don't have space at the top because I put another problem in there. Maybe I was working with another student, but that's all right. Here's the key stuff. So I want you to write this down because this is really, really important. Simplify before solving. This is going right in our packets here, folks. Simplify before solving. This is something that a lot of times my students forget to do, and it makes their life so much tougher when they forget to do it. There are 3 main steps for simplifying, okay? And you want to do these 3 things in this order before you start solving. Now, I'll tell you, they don't actually have to be in this order, but if they do them in this order, it usually ends up with less steps, right? So we're looking for an efficient solution, I think. Does anybody like doing problems like a super long way and having lots of extra steps? Does anybody like doing problems as efficiently as possible and coming up with a correct answer with as few steps as possible? Me too. I'm in the same boat. So here's the 3 steps. If you do them in this order, usually less work. Step 1 is deal with parentheses. Step 1 is to deal with parentheses. And how do we deal with parentheses? Well, we can do our box, or some of you kind of draw some lines over top of them. I'm going to make myself a note that it's kind of like when we have these boxes and we've got some stuff out front and up here, or sometimes we've got a box that looks like this. We've got some stuff in the top and down the side. But when we do that, what we're doing is we're getting rid of the parentheses. Okay, so step 1, we always want to get rid of any parentheses we have. We can't really solve equations when you have stuff locked up inside of parentheses. So that's step 1. Step 2, combine like terms. So after you've gotten rid of all your parentheses, you want to go and look and see, can we combine any like terms? Remember, you can only combine like terms if we're on the same side of the equation. And then step 3, and this is the one that people tend to forget. We cannot solve an equation where we have variables on both sides of the equation. You can't isolate a variable if it's in 2 different places. So step 3, we want to make sure to get our variable, usually x, on one side only. So we're going to practice doing this today. If we can do all of these steps before we start solving, by the time we get done with these 3 steps, we're going to have a very simple equation to solve, and it won't take us very many steps. Okay? You guys all have that down? Does anybody need a moment to make sure they got those 3 steps down? Okay, don't put that away. Just kind of push it to the side so you can still see it. And let's work through here. All right, step 1 for simplifying says deal with parentheses. Do you see any parentheses in this first problem? I do too. I see some parentheses, so my first step is going to be to deal with that. Once this focuses, come on, you can do it. Oh, you had it. There we go. All right, what I see when I look at this problem is I see one term on the outside and two terms on the inside. Can you guys go ahead and make yourself a rectangle off to the side here? That's a 1 by 2 rectangle. This is our side work over here. And let's put a 2 and a 1y and a negative 2 up here. Now, some of you don't do the rectangle thing. If you don't, that's fine. Just go ahead and do it and put your answer right underneath here. So I'm going to work through here. 1 times 2, or 2 times 1y is 2y, and 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Are we in agreement there? All right, that is going to come over here. What do we have? 2y and negative 4. 2y and negative 4. I'm going to put that right underneath the thing that it came from. And then I'm going to drop down my equal sign, and I'm going to drop down my negative 6. Let me go ahead and draw my line down here. So my first step was to get rid of the parentheses. Now we've got an equation without parentheses. Step 1 is accomplished. We feeling okay? All right. Step 2, like terms. Look on this side of the equation. Do you see any like terms? Nope. This doesn't have a y, so those are not like terms. How about over here? There's only 1, so we can't have like terms over here. So we're done with like terms. Step 3, do we have a variable on both sides? Nope. Oh, good. We could skip step 3. So we're on to solving. So we're done simplifying. Let's solve this thing. What would be your next step? How are we going to get rid of that minus 4? Plus 4 on both sides. That gets us, what do we have left? The 2y is still there, equals negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. One final step, help me get rid of that 2. Divide by 2 on both sides. Y is left over, equals, and negative 1 is here. And that's my answer. Any questions? We're going to do this just one time today, but I want to remind everybody here that when you're solving an equation, you can check your answer, okay? The reason I'm reminding you about this is you're going to have a bunch of equations you're going to solve on your Chapter 3 test. If you've got extra time at the end, hey, that's it, okay? Last warning. If you've got extra time at the end of a test, why not go back and make sure you didn't make mistakes? They're easy to make, right? Let me show you how to do this. I want everybody to write this down for this one. I'm not going to make you do this for every single problem we do today. Take this original equation that we wrote and rewrite it, but I want you to leave the y out and leave a parenthesis in its place. So 2, big parenthesis, and then instead of y minus 2, I'm going to write parenthesis minus 2 inside of there. And then equals negative 6. So that's the same equation that we had when we started with, except what am I going to put in that parenthesis? I'm going to put negative 1 in there because I think that my answer is negative 1. Then I'm going to show you how to check and make sure that that answer is correct. You guys ready? Did you all write that down? Please don't miss this, okay? This is super important. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and work this out. Now the parenthesis, PEMDAS says do the parenthesis first, so I'm leaving the 2 alone. You guys tell me, what's going to happen when I do negative 1 minus 2? What am I going to get in there? That's going to be a more negative number. Negative 3, sound right? Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. I'm bringing my equal sign down, and I'm bringing my negative 6 down. So we're just simplifying here. One more step. What is 2 times negative 3? Negative 6. Bring your equal sign down, bring your negative 6 down. Is my answer correct? Yes. How do I know that negative 1 is the correct answer? Because we got the same number on both sides here. Now, if I made a mistake and I came up with an answer that was wrong, I would not get the same number. I might get something like 4 equals negative 6 or 0 equals negative 6. Okay? But if you get the same number on both sides, that means that your answer is correct. All right. Just quick show of hands. How many of you are going to check your answers when we have our next test? On our next test. How many people plan on checking their answers on their next test? If you have time, right? If you have time. I would save the check for after you're done with everything else on the test and then go back and check. Okay, now if you're planning on doing it on our next test, then you should probably practice it once or twice when you're doing your assignments, right? I'm not saying you got to go back and check every single answer when you're doing these assignments, because that could take a while, but maybe once or twice just so you've got some practice. All right, let's do our next one. So we're not going to check the rest of these, but I wanted to make sure you guys were familiar with how to do this. Oh my goodness, we're going to solve an equation that's got an x squared in it, guys. This is going to be awesome. We've never seen one like this. Step one is parentheses. Do you see parentheses? I do too. I see a couple parentheses over here. They both have two things on the inside. So let's set up some side work over here. I'm going to get my 2 by 2 box going. I have to write kind of small. What do I got? I got a 1x and a negative 1. I got a 5x and a 6. 5x and a 6. All right, let's multiply here. 1x times 5x, that's 5x squared. 1x times 6 is 6x. Negative 1 times 5x is negative 5x. And negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. I'm just going to take all that stuff and write it right underneath where that came from. It came from these parentheses here. So we got 5x squared. And I apologize, guys. You're going to have to write pretty small here. I did not give a ton of space on this handout. So I just took the inside of my box and wrote it underneath there. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring down my 5x squared and my plus 43 over here. All right, so we got rid of parentheses. That was step one. Remind me, what's step two? What was step two again? Combine like terms. Do we have any like terms? Let's draw our line down here so we keep the sides separate. Over here, do we have any like terms? I'd say no. How about over here? 6x and 5x, we can put those together. So we're still going to have our 5x squared. 6x minus 5x would be 1x, so plus 1x minus 6. And then we got 5x squared plus 43 over here still. You guys with me? This next step's going to be kind of new, so don't miss this. So our next thing to do is we're going to see if we have variables on both sides. Do you guys see x's on both sides? We do. Do you see x squares on both sides? All right, check it out. I am allowed to do anything I want to both sides of the equation. Does anybody have a clever suggestion for what I can do on both sides of this equation so we don't have to deal with those 5x squares? We could do minus 5x squared on both sides. We can do that, can't we? Let's try it. What's going to happen if I do minus 5x squared on both sides? They're just going to cancel, aren't they? So what do we got left? 43 equals 1x minus 6. Hey, all right. That's looking nice and tidy. I think we can get x by itself in one more step here. Right now, that x has a minus 6 on the same side. What am I going to do to get rid of that? How about plus 6 on both sides? So equal sign comes down. 1x is the same as x, and then 43 plus 6 is 49. I think that's my final answer, but if I were doing that on a test, I would definitely go back, plug it in, and make sure that it worked. All right, who's got questions? Okay, here comes, folks. This is the most tedious one on this whole page. You ready for number 3? Why is this going to be extra tedious? How many boxes are we going to have to do here? Not while we're doing instruction. Yeah. How many boxes are we going to have to do here? We're going to have to do 2 boxes. I'm going to have to do a box for this and a box for this to get rid of all my parentheses. So grumble, grumble, grumble a little bit, but then let's just put our heads down and get it done, all right? Here we go. So I'm just going to do my box right underneath here because there's not a whole lot of room. So dun, 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 dun. I'm going to do one here. That's going to have a 1x and a 3, and a 1x and a 4. And then I'm going to do another box over here. It's going to have a 1x and a 1 and a 1x and a 2. 1x and a 1, 1x and a 2. All right, take a moment and fill those in for me, please. I want everybody to do this on their own. Go ahead and fill in those boxes. We're actually going to go over this on Tuesday, so don't get started on that because I haven't showed you how to do it. Are you finished with all these? Nice. Yeah. So if you want, we're going to have time to work on the assignment today, but you can go ahead and get started. I do want you to check your answers against mine as we're going, okay? All right, let me catch up to you here. Once you got your boxes filled in, go ahead and take the insides of the box and make a new equation out of it. So we're using the stuff on the inside. That is a big, old, messy equation. There's x's all over the place. There's x squareds in it. It's all right, though. We got this. It's not as bad as it looks. So far, I've done step 1 of my simplifying. I got rid of the parentheses. Remind me, what's step 2 again? Like terms. Let's look for like terms on the left side. Do you see any? I see a 4x and a 3x that we can put together. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll still have our 1x squared. 4x and 3x is 7x. And then over here, I think we got a couple x's we can put together as well. 2x and 1x. 2x and 1x is 3x. Alrighty. I don't think we have any more like terms. Let's move on to step 3. Step 3 is to look for variables on both sides. Let's deal with those x squareds first. What can we do to make these x squareds go away on both sides? Let's do minus 1x squared on both sides. Those are going to cancel out. I'll bring down my next step. We've still got a 7x and a 12 over here. I've still got a 3x and a minus 2. And I don't think I'm quite done with this step because I still have x's on both sides. Can't get x by itself if it's in 2 different places. So y'all want to get rid of the 7x or do you want to get rid of the 3x? 3x? All right, it's a positive 3x, so how are we going to get rid of it? We'll do minus 3x on both sides. I'm running out of room, so I'm writing small here. Those go away. 7x minus 3x, that's 4x plus 12 equals, we still got a negative 2 over here. All right, we're done simplifying. Now all we got to do is solve. We got 2 more steps. Get rid of the 12 and get rid of the 4. So go ahead and do those last 2 steps on your own if you haven't already. I'm going to work through them up here if you need a hint, but please try and do this on your own as much as you can. That's not minus 2. What should that be? That should be negative 14. Does that sound better? Yeah. And then divide by 4. Yes. Where did I, oh, that's my problem. Oh my goodness, thank you for catching that. Did you guys see my mistake here? Yeah, okay, thank you for correcting me. That is so easy to do. Sometimes when you bring something down to the next step, you write the wrong sign down. Anybody ever done that? I'm gonna have to back up and fix some stuff here. So I had a +2, and when I copied it became a -2. So that's a plus, that's a plus. So that's not a negative 14 anymore. What should it be? It would be negative 10. All right, negative 10. And then we would divide that by 4, and we could write that as a decimal, or we could just write it as a fraction. So x equals negative 10 over 4, and then we can simplify 10 over 4. What can we divide both 10 and 4 by? By 2. So that would be negative 5 over 2, and that would be my final answer. If you wanted to write it as a decimal, that's fine, as long as the decimal terminates. If you have repeating decimals or non-terminating decimals, just write them as a fraction. All right, folks, one more. Guys, can I show you a shortcut on this last one? Anybody here like shortcuts? I think you guys are ready for a shortcut. Any questions on number 3 before we get on to number 4? Number 4 is much quicker. Hooray. All right, check it out. Some of you know this already, but I want everybody to see this because it's going to save you some time. Can you guys look up here, please? Thank you. All right, when I have just one thing in front of a parenthesis, rather than draw the box, there's another way to do this. It's called distribution. Have you guys ever seen this before? The rainbow method, some people call it. So I'm not going to draw the box. I'm just going to take this 2 on the outside. I'm going to multiply it by everything inside. What is 2 times x? 2x. What is 2 times 1? 2. Bring down your +3. Bring down your equal sign. And then we can do the same thing over here. Here's a 3 on the outside. Let's distribute it into that parenthesis. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times -1 is -3. How many people have already seen that before? Rainbow method, distribution. If you haven't seen it before, isn't that way quicker than trying to draw a rectangle? Now, I will only do this if I have one thing in front. This kind of replaces what I would do if I had like a 1x2 rectangle. If I have a 2x2 rectangle, I usually use the rectangle. I usually use the box. You can do it by drawing some lines. It gets a little more complicated. All right, we dealt with the parentheses. That was step 2, or step 1. Remind me what step 2 is? Combine like terms. I see some like terms over here we can put together. Let's stick that 2 and that 3 together. That's +5. And bring down the 2x. No like terms over here, so bringing both of these down. Step 2 is to combine like terms. Remind me what step 3 was again? Variables on one side only. Do we have variable on one side only? No, we got a little work to do. Do you guys want to get rid of the 2x or get rid of the 3x? The 2x? Okay, I'm going to go -2x on both sides. That'll allow us to cancel those over there, leaving us with just a +5 or a +5. 3x minus 2x is 1x, and we still have a -3 here. Now we only have a variable on one side. Now we're ready to solve. I think we only need one step here because 1x is the same as x, right? I just need to get rid of that -3. Let's go +3 on both sides. Those will cancel. We're going to have 8 over here, and 1x is the same as x. Since x is by itself, we're done. X is 8. All right, so what's new today? Anything totally new? I would say what's new is that we just combined 2 things that we've been doing for a while together into one type of problem, right? You guys solved equations before today, and you dealt with these parentheses before today. Now we're just sticking those 2 things together into one problem. All right, you have a large chunk of time, and I want you to use it. My expectation is that you are working on the new assignment. Let me give myself a stamp because I finished that one. The new assignment is 3.3.1, and it's going to be due the next time I see you, which will be the 11th, I believe. Does that sound right? Monday is the 11th. And I need to check because I think we might need to take one of these problems out of here. So I didn't show you how to solve equations with absolute values yet. Remember the notes sheet that we were working on today? I need you to bring that back on Monday because we're going to finish it up. And I'm on the wrong page here. Let me look and see. 81, we can do it. 82, we skipped 83. Ooh, that's tricky. All right, we got to skip 84, friends. I'm sorry to tell you, we can't do 84. So what we're going to do is we're going to move them over to the next assignment. Could you guys make this change on your stamp sheet? So I'm going to give you a little bit shorter today. It's going to be a trade-off for a little bit longer. I'll tell you what, though, on Monday, our notes are going to be short, and you're going to have a lot of time to be working on this. So 84 goes on to 332, and then we'll put, for the minimum assignment, we'll put 84 AC here, okay? So you do not have to do 84 today. I haven't shown you how to do that. If you're working on that today and you want me to show you, it's pretty quick, okay? Focus on getting 81, 83, 85, and 86 done in class here. Many of you are going to finish this before you leave. If you finish and you don't have anything else to work on, like any old assignments from the sheet, then you can work on something for another class. Remember, though, I do need you to turn in the work that you did with the sub on Tuesday. I only have a few of those in my tray right now. I got a lot of people right now who are going to get zeros on that if they don't get that turned in today. Yes. You just turned yours in. Thank you for that. And to make sure your name's on it, right? I had a few things show up without names. All right, folks, thank you. Let's get busy on this. I'll be around to check in with you and see if you have questions.